Hello, subscribers. It's Dr. Jim Copeland again, coming to you with additional information that will help you in managing your children. Today is a sunshiny day here, a little bit of an overcast. I like to do things sort of outdoors primarily for the purpose of helping you understand that if I'm sitting in an office and we're talking about things that are clinical, it can be rather dry or boring, and I don't want to do that. Anyway, a little bit about me. I didn't do that in the last video. I am a clinical psychologist, more specifically a behavioralist. And what I do specifically is I modify behaviors in special needs children and, of course, adults. And the reason we modify that behavior is because if people are having maladaptive behavior, fancy word for bad behavior, we want to change that paradigm so that they, in fact, can have better behavior that's acceptable by us and, of course, in society. And these things are important. The last time we chatted, we talked specifically about whose fault it was regarding bad behavior in children. And we know there are a lot of reasons why children had bad behavior. We wanted to make sure that we as the adults in their life made sure that we made adjustments in the way that we did things so that the behavior of those kids would in fact change. I've been doing this for a number of years now, a couple of decades. My history goes back to, of course, the military days and, of course, adjusting behavior back then. But I didn't get the education until after I had left the military. And then as a result of those things that I learned in the military and as far as what I've learned in my education, it has helped me establish good strategies that are germane and more specific to each individual need. So that's a snapshot about me. That's all you really need to know for now. Now, what can we do to work on behaviors for children in your world? First of all, don't blame yourself when it comes down to the way your child was born. I run into a lot of times when parents are saying, oh, gee whiz, I feel so sorry for my child because of the way they were born. And so therefore I give them too much flexibility and latitude to do whatever they want to do. That is always a mistake. Do not treat your child when it comes to behavior any differently than anybody else would treat their child. You have rules of the household. You draw that line in the sand and tell them they need to, of course, follow those rules of the household or there'll be consequences. Now, one of the things that hurts us is that because we have a special needs child, we assume that they learn in such a way or don't learn in such a way that they cannot, of course, learn from those things in which you try to instruct them within the household. That is incorrect. They have a lot of common sense. They may not be able to communicate or articulate specifically what they're feeling in words, but they do in their actions. I like to give this little example sometimes about little Johnny. Little Johnny goes to the kitchen. He says, "Mommy, I want a cookie." Mommy's in the kitchen and she's cooking and she's trying to prepare the dinner and she tells little Johnny, leave the kitchen, dinner will be ready in about 45 minutes, you can wait. Little Johnny wants that cookie. Little Johnny has learned that persistence overcomes resistance. And so little Johnny goes back in a second time and he goes back in the kitchen a third time and maybe even a fourth time. He says, "Mommy, I really want that cookie." He annoys Mommy 6 times, 7 times, 8 times, 9 times, maybe even 10 times. Ultimately, Mommy says, "Little Johnny, here's the cookie. Get out of the kitchen and let me finish." Little Johnny's now said, if I bother Mom enough, I'll get what I want. I bet a lot of you have seen this kind of example where there's a kid in a store and he's with a mother or a father and he sees a toy or something they want. And then they'll ask the parent for it. And the parent says no, and then they begin to tantrum. And the parent would say, "Oh my gosh, no, we can't do that. We're not here for that particular purpose. We're not making that purchase." And that child tantrums more and more and more. Finally, the parent gets embarrassed enough and they just want to shut that child up and they give the child what they want. The child has decided that, gee, all I have to do is tantrum to get what I want. I bet some of you are experiencing in your household tantruming children. Why? Because you've said no to something, they tantrum, and then you give in. This emboldens the child to become worse and worse and worse. So how do you shut it down? One of the things that you need to do, no matter how old your child is sit them down and say, "Listen, these are the rules. These are the rules that we're going to follow. These are the rules that we're going to practice. There are no changes to those rules. If you violate the rules, here are the consequences." A lot of naysayers will say consequences don't work. Well, they're incorrect. They didn't work for them. Use the consequences. Now, consequence is not necessarily something that's punitive, that's physical. The consequence can be, well, gee whiz, you don't get to use your telephone for an hour. Oh, gee, you don't get to go on social media for 2 hours. Oh, you lose your computer for 3 hours. whatever that consequence is, or you maybe not get your favorite meal, or you may not be able to go out on the weekend to see your friends. You can come up with all kinds of ways to change the behavior of your child. You have to find out what best works for your child. But please, parents, never, 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 never give in. Because when you do that, again, as I said before, that emboldens the child. It causes all kinds of errors, which simply means that that child will realize that I can get what I want if I am aggressive enough, both verbally and physically. You keep your focus as a parent and you will be very, 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 very successful. Well, that's enough for today. This is Dr. Jim Copeland. I want you to stay focused on your efforts as a parent. Take no prisoners. Do not retreat. You heard me say it in the last video. Run to the battle and not away from it. Until next time, subscribe. Take care. Dr. Jim. Goodbye.